Hi there. In this video, I am going to show you how you can enable favoriting on your Webflow site so users can favorite or bookmark different CMS items from a CMS collection of your choosing, from a collection template page, or from a collection list. So in this example, it's a directory for freelancers. So I'm just favoriting different freelancers I might want to hire. So now if I just go back to the home page, I can also, again, favorite a freelancer from a collection list. And then I can go to a page where I can see all of my previously favorited CMS items. So as you can see, all of the different freelancers that I've favorited are being displayed inside of this list on my favorites page. So the tool we are going to use to enable this is called Supersparks. So at the time of recording this solution only works when a user is logged in through a memberships tool like Outseta or Memberstack, but we are planning on adding guest/logged out visitor favoriting in the coming months. In order to get started, first off, you're just going to create a new account in Supersparks if you haven't done so already. So we will also provide a link in the description to Supersparks. Okay, so after signing up, you should be redirected to a page like this where you will be asked to authorize Supersparks onto your Webflow site that you would like to enable favoriting on. So you're just going to select that Webflow project and then click Authorize App. And then after seeing this success screen, you're just going to click Get Started and then click Add Sparks on the project that you just authorized Supersparks to. And then the next step is to select the upvoting and favoriting app and then click Start Free Trial or Create Spark. And then after that's done, you're just going to select a upvoting/favoriting component that you would like to use. So this one here for bookmarking is probably most relevant to the favoriting use case. So I'm just going to use this one. But you can, of course, swap out the icons inside of these components and redesign them however you want, which I'll show you later on in the video. Okay, so after selecting the component, the next step is to copy the component. And then we're just going to go into the Webflow project that we would like to add favoriting to. And I'm just using a clonable for this example. So shout out to Pablo Stanley for this. So it's just a directory of different freelancers. But again, you can add favoriting to any type of CMS collection. Okay, so I'm just going to add this component wherever I would like users to be able to upvote, starting with the collection list elements. So I'm just going to press Control or Command V. And if you are using Safari, this step actually won't work. So just make sure you're copying and pasting the component from a different browser. Okay, so I've added this to the collection list element. Now I would also like to add this to the collection template page for the freelancer/people collection here. So I'll just add this maybe inside of the links element here. And then we're just going to go back to Supersparks now and proceed with the installation. So the next step is to copy this code snippet, and then you can either add this into your site-wide head code, or if you would only like the script to load on individual pages where you're enabling favoriting, you can also add this into the page level head tag. But I'm just going to add this to the head code area for my site. So after saving, I'm just now going to publish these changes. And then now if I just go back to Supersparks and then click test code and continue, you should see confetti indicating that I added the script correctly. Okay, so the next step is to select the CMS collection where we are adding favoriting to. So again, it's this people collection / freelancer collection. And then next, what we can do is, well, let's actually just skip this for now. I'll get back to this later. But then the last step is to select the memberships / auth tool that you are planning to use. So again, either Memberstack or Outseta will work for this solution. So in this example, I'm just going to use Memberstack. And if you haven't installed either of these tools already, I will provide links in the description that goes into more detail on how to implement each one of them. Okay, so I'm just going to select Memberstack and click Save and Continue. Okay, so now if I just go back to my Webflow project and then just go to the sign up page for my Memberstack configuration, I can now just create a new account. And then once I create my account, I should be logged in. So now that I'm logged in, I can now go to the collection template page for a specific freelancer. And then now I can just favorite this CMS item. Okay, so this functionality currently isn't fully working for collection list upvoting. So next I am just going to go back to Supersparks and then go to the extra features area. And then as you can see, the collection list feature is currently selected. So I'm just going to follow these steps now for enabling upvoting inside of the collection list. So the first step is to add an attribute to the collection list element for Supersparks-upvotes list equals true. So I'm just going to do that. So go back to the Webflow project, go to the page where I've added favoriting inside of a collection list, and then just make sure that this element here is selected. So the collection list, not the wrapper or the item. And then I'm just going to go to the custom attributes area and then just add in this attribute here and then make the value true. And then the last step is to now select the collection item element and then add a custom attribute with the name slug. And then I'm just going to connect the value to a certain CMS field inside of this collection, and it's just going to be the slug field. So after that's done, if we just publish again, we should be able to now upvote inside of the collection list. So as you can see, that is working. Now that the favoriting functionality is working inside of the collection list and collection template page, we're just going to set up the page where users can view all of their different favorited items. So next we are just going to go back to Supersparks and then select the favorites extra feature. And then next we are just going to go back to Webflow, to our Webflow project. And then I'm just going to create a new static page for favorites, or you can just call this whatever you want. So after this is created, I am actually just going to copy and paste the same collection list element from my home page, and then just paste it into this favorites page here. So actually just add a wrapper here. So it's not too wide. Then what I would also maybe do is just add an H1, or this can be any text element really. And then I would just make this say something like my X or dash favorites. Then I'll just give this a bit of padding. Now if I just go back to Supersparks, I can follow these steps here for enabling the favorites list. So first off, I'm just going to copy this attribute here and then go back to Webflow, and then again I'm just going to select the collection list element and then go to the settings and then paste in the attribute name that I just copied inside of the custom attributes area for this element. And then after, I am just going to copy this 5-digit code from Supersparks and then paste it as the value. Okay, so now if I just publish, we should be able to see a favorites list. Okay, so as you can see, the 4 different freelancers that I've favorited in my previous tests are now being listed inside of this collection list on this static page for favorites. So there's a few other things you can do. You can also show the total number of favorites inside of a text element. What I'm actually just going to do is I'm just going to wrap this one with a span, and then I am just going to give this a class name, and then I can just copy this attribute name from Supersparks and then paste it into the custom attributes area. And then I'm also just going to copy this 5-digit code from Supersparks as the value again. So now if I publish again, it should now display the total number of favorites. And then users can also remove favorites from their favorites list, and the total number updates, and also the collection list of favorites will also update. So those are kind of the basics. What you can also do is you can also add in the total number of favorites to your navigation. So there's maybe a text link that shows the number of favorites and then also allows users to navigate to the My Favorites page. I would also just follow a similar approach here, wrapping with the span and then also adding in that same custom attribute for the number of favorites. So just going to, again, add that attribute and then change the link settings to go to the favorites static page. So as you can see, the number of favorites are being displayed here, and then now I can go to the page with all of my favorites. One last thing I wanted to quickly touch on is that you might be noticing a bit of flickering of other CMS items while Supersparks is loading and applying its filter for the currently logged in user's favorites. So in order to prevent that, what you can do is just go to your Webflow project and then again go to the favorites collection list element. Since I pasted the collection list from the home page, I am actually just going to add a combo class to the collection list and just going to call it favorites here. And then what I am going to do is I am just going to decrease its opacity from 100% to 0% and then publish, and that should get rid of the flickering. And then you can increase it back to 100% if you were wanting to make edits. Just make sure to decrease it back to 0% before publishing your changes. Okay, so that's kind of the basics that I wanted to show you. One other key detail worth noting is that you can customize the design of every single aspect of the component. So for example, if you were interested in changing the icon, you could do that. You can also change the colors here. So maybe change it to a black for the different icons and then black for the text. And yeah, you can really let your imagination run wild for the styling and layout of these different upvoting components. And then one other thing I lightly touched on earlier is that you can also sync the total number of bookmarks for a CMS collection whenever a new bookmark gets added on your site. So if you were using Finsweet Attributes, for example, for sorting functionality, this would just allow users to sort by number of favorites. So I can just show you that quickly. What I would do is just go to my CMS collection and then add a number field. I'm just going to call this total faves. Then click save and then save collection. And then if I just go back to Supersparks, I'm just going to refresh the page. And then go back to the CMS Connect and then just select this new CMS field that I just created. So after publishing as well in Webflow, and then just refreshing. Now if I favorite an item and then just go to my CMS collection, I might need to refresh. Let's see, who was that? Alberto. As you can see, the number of upvotes, which is 1, is now synced into the total faves CMS field for this CMS item. And one last detail I wanted to touch on before ending this video is that it's entirely possible to add this favoriting functionality to another CMS collection. What you would just do is create a new Spark for a new CMS collection that you would like to add favoriting to, and then you would just follow the exact same steps that I just showed you for a different CMS collection. Okay, so that's pretty much everything. Do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions at hello@supersparks.io. And thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.